that's why I'm saying John Wick.
Yeah.
Once it gets started, it just propels forward. And it can be very easy to let the action dominate my story and lose control of the character. So I have to remind myself to slow down every so often, be like, stop, let's give the character some breath. Let's develop the world build. Let's develop my character. So it's more of a push and pull between the action and keeping the character the way I want him to be. That's a struggle because obviously the action is the most fun part, and it makes more sense in a story like this that the next thing must happen. But you do have to stop and let the story breathe, and that's probably the toughest part. Hi, my name is Jeff Haas. I am the writer-creator of M.A.L.E.K Reigning Devil and the host of the First Stars podcast. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me everywhere. And you're watching and listening to the Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We are joined today by a returning guest. He's a fellow podcast host. He is a longtime friend of the show. We have been chatting more times than not about comics, podcasting, and with Barney, the occasional AI conversation. This time around, he is back as a comic writer. We've had him on the show in the past as a writer as well, too. But this time, we're talking about M.A.L.E.K Reigning Devil, joined by the ever-talented Jeff Haas. How are you doing today?
I appreciate that. I appreciate the talented part thrown in there. I like to think so.
Yeah, come on. We've known each other for at least 10 years now, so we know each other's foils and fables and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, has it been 10 years? I mean, you were only on this show for 8 years from the point you met me then. All those years ago.
Time is a funny thing.
Yes.
Because you've been on here many times in the past, and we talk a lot offline too in our various groups and masterminds that we are part of here. I'm curious, what's been inspiring you lately outside of M.A.L.E.K and Traversing the Stars?
You know what? I think that's been really cool. That we're returning to the moon. So I think that's just like one of those things where I'm like, finally, we're hopefully getting back to the space race. So that's exciting for me. I've gotten re-energized in the world of Star Trek. So I've been getting all into space and stuff like that. So that's been getting me going as well. So that's been part of my excitement. And talking to you.
We're talking about M.A.L.E.K Reigning Devil here. I'm not sure if we haven't talked about that in the past. This is the first time talking about this particular series. For those that don't know anything about M.A.L.E.K Reigning Devil, what is it and why should they be excited about it?
Okay, so this story, the second issue was kickstarted, I think like 4 years ago, and finally the third issue is ready to roll now that I have the rights back to my own characters. Any writer would know the joy of getting your own rights back to your character, so you get to use it. Elevator pitch is basically John Wick meets Spawn with Dante's Inferno as like a overall concept. M.A.L.E.K is a fallen angel. He was an angel of basically God's wrath on Earth. God sent him to hell to kill the devil, and once you put in hell, you can no longer return to heaven. And when you kill the devil, you become the devil. So he's basically now trapped in hell. Once he realizes what happened as very unfair, and he decides to seek revenge on his creator, who sent him, basically damned him for eternity for reasons that are not his fault, or at least not his view. So it's basically him going through the circles of hell to gain control, and now he's entering purgatory to talk to Lucifer, who he has killed, and ask, how do I get into heaven? How do I get my army into heaven to have my war? You had one probably in mind. I'm going to do mine. And hopefully for M.A.L.E.K, Lucifer hates God more than he hates the one who killed him. And it's going to be interesting to see, is he friend or foe when he steps foot in purgatory, which is where angels and demons go when they die, which obviously, it's just obvious, right?
Of course, yeah. It's not like you've consumed, Dante's Inferno en masse or something like that, right? It's not like you're pulling from an incredible story and plot.
If you're a good writer, you've ripped off many good writers, right? So that's what we do. We're basically rip-off artists in a more interesting way.
No. You're taking homage on what they've created is what it is, right?
That is the better word, homage, honoring. Showing respect to these properties I have taken.
This has been a long-standing story, though, for you, right? Like you've worked with this for a while now. How long have you been dealing with it?
My guess is, like I said, it must have been 5 years, maybe. I think this has been in the process. So, this is the third issue. There's been 3 tie-in mini comics that connect to it that I worked on. And I say we because at the time I had a publisher. This is the first issue that I've been able to self-publish. and eventually it'll be 6 issues total. So there's a few going on in the future, and one more tie-in book will be left, which is about 8 pages. I am so excited about this book. I can't even. It looks beautiful. It's going to be action packed. The purgatory is going to knock people's socks off. I am so excited by this project, and everyone should be backing it. I'm obviously not biased in any way.
No, no. Why would you be biased when you're promoting your own content that everyone should definitely buy for sure?
Indeed, I mean, I would back it.
It's just called basics of self promotion, in my opinion. I truly think that's because if you're not self promoting your own work, then who's going to know about it? You know?
I know, ABP, always be promoting.
Yeah, just the Alec Baldwin of whatever that film was.
I don't remember Wall Street. I don't know. Was he in Wall Street? No, probably. I can't remember what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, it's a famous Glengarry Glen Ross. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Coffees are for closers. That's the only line I remember for that entire film. Looking back at the early drafts, though, for what you created with MALEK, what's changed most about your approach for storytelling and how you see yourself as a creator?
I'm getting better at plotting the story ahead of time. I'm getting better at making sure that the story can be told in the amount of pages I want to tell it in. I've basically been doing a plot of panel by panel, page by page before I even add the dialogue or the captions to make sure the story can be contained within a certain amount of pages. Actually, this is 36 pages, so I uncontained myself apparently for 12 more pages than I should have, but it is what it is. I couldn't figure out a way to shorten it, so I'm going to keep it as is in 36 pages. I've become more aware of my protagonist, MALEK. As I've been writing him, I've been realizing depths to his character that I didn't think about earlier. I think, you know what? This would add layers to him. This is layers I hadn't thought about, but they must be there for, when you look back, you're like, no, that has to be in those stories. I mean, it's there. And I'm realizing, oh, that's why that made sense. And now I'm building upon it a little bit more. So he's becoming more complex. He's becoming maybe, I don't know, well-rounded. He's becoming an actual deeper character through the issues as I write.
Are you becoming a deeper writer as you write?
I like to think that in my old age, I'm becoming a little wiser, a little smarter. My ideas become a little more vast for this character. It's hard to, once you're in your 40s, you just start thinking more. You become a little, wiser. You've been around in the world for a little while.
The gray hairs also prove that, right?
Eventually, yes. So far, I have my color so far, but not in my beard, but in my hair, I have my color. So I'm hanging in there okay. I hope in my 50s, when I get to 50 with my hair color still. That's like my goal.
There's always hair club for men or just for men or whatever it is, right?
Or I'm going to end up being those guys who constantly coloring my hair. I don't know. I don't know about, or I'll just let it go. I'm not sure yet. I haven't reached that level of concern.
Fair enough. Because you have so many influences, Dante's Inferno and Spawn and John Wick and all of these amazing mediums that we all consume in some point in time here, what's the hardest part about building this cosmology that feels fresh rather than just a remix of your influence?
The biggest thing that's been difficult is that the story moves so quickly. It's like I said, it's very much like, that's why I'm saying John Wick.
Yeah.
Once it gets started, it just propels forward. And it can be very easy to let the action dominate my story and lose control of the character. So I have to remind myself to slow down every so often, be like, stop, let's give the character some breath, let's develop the world build, let's develop my character. So it's more of a push and pull between the action and keeping the character the way I want him to be. That's a struggle because obviously the action is the most fun part, and it makes more sense in a story like this that the next thing must happen. But you do have to stop and let the story breathe, and that's probably the toughest part.
But you're also jumping between like some pretty heavy philosophical sides of things. You're really diving into the heavy metal chaos. How does that balance? Because you're not trying to go like ham over fist. Hey, I'm going to shove Dante's Inferno down your throat.
It's a challenge. Dante's Inferno, for one of the first 2 issues of Hell, is basically, that's definitely Dante's Inferno, and it's basically the concept of the circles, the lords in hell. I mean, I'm not diving into like the history where it's like this guy is being burned for this. I mean, I'm not getting that deep into it because of the situation, the story, the plot. It's allowing me to explore some ideas about agency. What do we owe those who helped, create us? What do we owe to ourselves? What are our expectations of us? What should they be? Things of that nature. What is the cost of hate? What does that do to an individual? And those ideas do follow through in the story. And the story, because it's in hell, does develop those ideas just by the natural sense of what hell represents, which is torment and torture and sins. So that gives a chance to explore that. Purgatory, which is the second one, which is there's some basis on the Purgatorio by Dante Alighieri. It's a chance because it's the realm of the dead for angels and demons. It gives a chance for Mal to confront his sins directly because the angel that he kills in the prologue is going to be there. Lucifer, who he does kill and has now something in common with or a common goal with, is there. So that's just open the doors for revisiting some of the crimes or sins that MALEK has created on his path to get there. So just by the nature of purgatory for angels, it allows me to visit some of those things.
The team this time around, is it different from your other works that you've written on? Like who are we working with this time around?
The artist is Juan Amaran. He's done all the MALEK books so far and tie-in books. So the continuity of that from a visual standpoint is there, except I would argue that his art has developed so much that has actually gone beyond where he's in the other two issues. You can definitely see like that leveling up in this one, just the level of how good it is and how detailed it's become. But it's still the same artist. Aster Design Illustration is coloring this book for the first time and is doing a great job. Keith Gleason is going to letter the book for the first time, and he's done Nightmare Patrol, which was fantastic. So the art team, some differences, but the through line is going to be Juan and his work and his creations. And as MALEK has also been corrupted by his experience in hell, so he is changing his appearance as well. But there's definitely the callbacks of Juan's art in both versions.
Because your artist is now vastly improving, are you excited to see what your books 4, 5, and 6 are going to look like compared to 1, 2, and 3?
4 and 5, when we get to heaven, I can't wait. I mean, what he does with heaven is gonna be crazy. The issues 4 and 5 are already written, completely, and so I know it's going to be there. Like hypothetically, like in my head, like this is the idea, but what he's gonna do with it is gonna be absolutely killer. He's gonna knock it out. He's gonna be confronting Michael. So you see Michael first in the angel Michael, and everyone who knows anything about biblical stories know who Michael is going to be in the larger picture. You're gonna confront God, and you're gonna see my vision for what a God in this universe would be like. So I mean, there's gonna be some health, and there's gonna be some angel and angel warfare. It's gonna be crazy. There's an angel that's introduced in issue 5 that is going to knock people's socks off. He if you know your angel, your mythology, you'll recognize the name when he pops up. But he's going to be crazy, and I can't wait to see what he does with this character. If he does it as well, he does everything else. This character is going to just be a banger. It's going to knock everybody out.
I'd be interested to see who's going to do your covers then for those issues.
Juan does the covers. It's all him.
Oh wow.
Well, there's Dennis Valencia did a variant cover. He does a lot of my variant for every issue I do on Kickstarter. He usually does a variant cover for me, and he did an awesome cover for this one where you have Gluttony in the background. And everyone knows what Gluttony looks like from issue 1. You'll know that he's just a crazy looking character with mouths like everywhere. I mean, it's just insane. So he'll probably do variants for all mine. The main covers are always Juan on these books, and I couldn't ask for a better one. If you look at the original, the standard cover for issue 3 with Malek's head in the background and Lucifer kind of walking towards you, when I saw that, I like shit myself almost. I was like, oh my God, this is better than I would have envisioned. This looks like it belongs in Image comic books, if not slightly something better. It is so well done. I was knocked on my ass. I'm like, I actually made a t-shirt, and the t-shirt's gonna have that image on it, because I was like, there's no way in hell I can just let this stand.
You're also obviously an amazing host of Traversing the Stars. You know, I always love seeing your videos here. I saw all of your Starfleet Academy stuff. I know you're really excited about that. Like, that was just really incredible stuff. I've been there in tight timelines where you're just like the next person in that line as they go down type deal. You know, as that is your first time doing that, what did you learn about that, and would you do it again?
Oh, I mean, of course I would do it again, if for no other reason. You get to talk to, these guests, especially for Star Trek. I definitely do it again. It's rough because I just naturally have kind of like anxiety, like regular social anxiety, which is weird for a podcaster, but I do. And what I learned was, so it started at 12 to do my first interview, but I didn't get mine till 1:30. So I was sitting on my computer an hour and a half just waiting for it to happen. So I'm getting a little more stress. And then when I think the first question I asked, I kind of like blurted out like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like all like nervous because I was so like stressed about it. But I think the next time, it's just you get used to it, and now this is how it's going to probably go, and you get a little more settled. The next question will be a little smarter
Mm.
because what they do as well when you ask your question, because only was given 4 minutes. So after you ask your first question, they start ticking the clock next to you in the chat box. You got 1 minute, you got 30 seconds, you got 20 seconds, and it's like I'm about to be played off. So it's a little stressful. And then but you're just gonna learn, like when I did my other regular interviews, and I used to be very nervous about the regular interviews. I've done it before. It gives you confidence to do it again,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be a little calmer, a little slower. Hopefully, in my speech. There's growth, and there's always will be growth, and hopefully, I have more opportunities to grow in this area.
And of course, I heard through other interviews that Jeff Lemire is going to be on the show. I think that's going to be an awesome interview.
I already have the first issue of Firestorm,
Nice.
and anyone who may know me, and some people probably do, on Facebook, I am the admin for the Firestorm Appreciation Group, which is 7,900 members strong. I'm the first one in the group who have read Firestorm, the only one in the group who's read the first issue of Firestorm. So that's what we're going to talk about. I am psyched. It's hard not to tell people what happened because I kind of want to, but at the same time, it's like, no, you promise you can't say anything until the issue's released.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting myself in the best I can.
So, what questions are you going to ask him about writing? Because I'm sure that's definitely going to be on your mind for future issues of MALEK.
Well, the important question about writing is going to be basically when you think of a character like Firestorm, right? Firestorm is very much a character from the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has these baggy clothes, the weird ass fire hair. He's turning guns into cupcakes, which in many ways doesn't translate great to modern audiences who now everything's more darker. It's grim. It's very serious. Look how adult our stories are. But does Firestorm even make sense in that world? I mean, you're turning guns into cupcakes. You don't want to have like a big deep storyline about something overly serious because it doesn't make sense. He's kind of a goofy concept on some level. So how do you balance what your character was when he was created? What do you think expectations are now? Do you write what you want? Do you think if I do it well enough, the audience will follow me, or do you try to find your audience and write to what you think they want it to be? And that's a hard thing to do. I would like to think most writers will write what they believe in and assume the audience will find them. But a character like Firestorm, one that's been around for a while and understood in a certain way, there's an audience that has their own expectations. Sort of like people writing Star Trek. Starfleet Academy is not necessarily written for the fans of the original series or Next Generation, but it's something you can tell they believe in. It's something that it's definitely feelings of Star Trek peripheral to what's going on. Definitely a sense of Star Trek, but it's definitely them. And I think they're writing what they think is right, and they're hoping the audience finds them and connects with them, which I think, respect more than writing for your audience and trying to write what you think they want you to write. Because I think that's constraining, and it's not you. It's not honest as a writer, I think, as much. So I think that's a question I would want to talk to Jeff Lemire about. I mean, is this for you or is this for them? And both has a cost. That changes everything.
I think there was a film director, I can't remember his name. He basically said, I don't create these films for the fans, I create them for myself. And it's the same for any creative process. Like you said, if you're pandering to the masses, then is it really for you?
Right. I mean, dishonest art and honest might be the best terms, but it's something dishonest about writing a story that you don't want to tell, but you think someone else wants to read. It's because it's not yours. It's not something that you would want to read. Then why are you the one writing it? Find someone who would want to write that story then. So, but at the same time, you can't do something so off. There's been some Firestorm stories I've read because there's been multiple series, and I was like, it's interesting, but that doesn't feel like what I want from my Firestorm. So there's definitely different ways to take the story. It's also fair to say if the story isn't what I want it to be as a reader, but that's fine too. I mean, wait 30 issues, it'll be canceled. Someone else will write their version of the story. That's how modern comic books work.
Yeah.
Give it time. I want to see where he takes the series, and I'm gonna, I enjoyed the first issue. I'm gonna trust that he has the best interest in Firestorm in mind. If he doesn't, and I don't like it, maybe it's not written for me. I mean, that's fine too. There's stories of characters I like who I can tell I'm not the audience for, and that's okay. Like I said, this is comic books. Just be patient. It's when the audience complains, is like, oh, that's stupid, I hate that. It's like, well, then it's not you. Just be patient, and eventually it will be. Just if it fails, then it's even quicker to turn into something closer to you. If it's successful, well, then they create a better version of the character or more popular version of the character, and you have the old books that if you enjoy them, read those.
Yeah.
That's kind of how these things go.
As yourself, as an independent creator of comics, you're writing the story you want to tell, and you're doing it very well with Malik. And I think that's something that I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy and read. And I think it's hard to find action style comics like what you're creating without it being either an 80s cliche or without it being just so over the top that you're like winking at the camera, breaking the fourth wall every 5 pages.
Right. I mean, I should have a bunch of, was it pockets? That's what Rob Liefeld's for, which I do enjoy, but I have like pockets everywhere. Be like, oh, this is totally image. I mean, but like I said, I mean, there's definitely some image influence. But yeah, I'm trying to write something that I'm proud of, a character that I'm writing a book that I want to read.
Mm.
You know, and it seems obvious as a writer to be like, well, of course you're writing a book that you want to read, but that's not totally obvious. This is a book that if I saw it on the stands and it wasn't mine, I would pick up and go, this is very interesting. I mean, I buy Spawn, all the Spawn books as well. I mean, so it would be in the wheelhouse. But I definitely think it was on the shelf. I pick up and buy it, and then I buy the next issue. But this book, I think, deserves to be on the stands. It deserves to be read.
Mm-hmm.
Deserves to be purchased, and I stand by it. Which you can't always say about everything you always do.
Because you're writing just scenes of divine fury or cosmic war, and this is kind of, I'm curious about your theology side of things too when it comes to this thing, because I'm not overly religious. You know, what keeps the characters grounded enough for readers to care about their struggles?
All right. Well, I mean, from a religious standpoint, culturally, genetically Jewish, but practicing atheist, as I think many Jews are. But but I'm more or less an atheist. On a good day, I'm an agnostic, but on most days, I'm an atheist. But I think it is character is relatable or identifiable in the sense that he is trying to determine what his purpose should be, especially that now that he has control of his own future, his own agency. I think that's something we all deal with. Who we are, what are we supposed to be doing? Am I a disappointment to what was expected of me? I think that's always a question we ask of ourselves. You know, if there is a God too, are we what we're supposed to be in that sense? Is there forgiveness as well? Things of that nature. And I think Malik deals with some very real concerns that people have grown, as they become through adulthood and they think about their lives and what they want to be their life to be, because you still, even as an adult, you still have many many years to determine what you want to be as an individual. And I think that's what Malik's trying to do. He's trying to determine who is he supposed to be, who does he want to be, and are they mutually exclusive.
You know, now that Malik Reigning Devil is entering its final stretch with books 4, 5, and 6 on the way, which I'm really excited for personally, what has this long creative journey taught you, not just about being a writer, but also in personal endurance?
Have faith in yourself. Like I said, I'm an anxious person. I ride the roller coaster of Kickstarter. Is always rough for me because the lows are low. I get hit by them hard. When the highs are high, I get very excited. And once again, I always say I'm gonna ride the wave better the next time, and I always get caught by the wave. And like any surfer, I fall off the board more often than not, but I try to hang in there. But I am getting more confident that what has been proven is that at the end of the day, it always comes through. My stories always come through. My backers and supporters always come through. So I maintain faith that that's how it's going to work. And you have my faith in myself as a writer that I will persevere in my storyline and it will get done. I know it will get done. And that's not always easy to do every day. Focus on what the goal is for that day, for that project or that Kickstarter, and see it through. I would say it's more just making sure you persevere through the next day, keep faith in your campaign, keep faith in your project, keep faith in your team. That's kind of where I'm falling right now.
Well, we can't obviously end this interview without talking about your Kickstarter campaign that you're currently running as of this particular interview here. So, talk to us about that. You've done a few of these before in the past. It's a long endurance race, obviously, when it comes to these campaigns.
Yes, it is.
What are you excited about in terms of either tiers or content that people should be excited about picking up this time around?
I think I created my best looking campaign that I've ever put together. I'm not a design expert, so nor do I have was it like Photoshop. So this is like for me though, this is fantastic looking for as how it's set up. The tiers I think are pretty cool and cheap. PDF of the third issue or any one of the issues is $3. The 36 page issue 3 is 36 pages. You can get issues 1 and 2 as well is available. I believe issue 1, I think you get both issues for like $12, issues 1 and 2, and then so you can get 3 as well. Um, There's poker cards because now I'm collecting poker card decks, and I've made a custom poker card with MALEK for MALEK, which is really cool and nerdy. There's four for each face card. There's a different character. There's Sorgat, MALEK, Michael, and Lucifer, and you can get them. So it's pretty cool. There's a T-shirt, a black T-shirt with the cover issue 3 on it, which is amazing to look at. Um, and this community bundle. There you can get 20 PDFs from the indie community for $17. So that's 20 PDFs or from around the indie community world, and you get them all for $17. That's a good deal. It's less than $1 per PDF.
And those are comics.
Comic books, yes, they're all comic books. Some of them are mine from other projects. MALEK 1 and 2 is part of it. MALEK 3 would be part of it. End of All Terminus 1 is part of it. Nightmare Patrol is in there, and Santa Claus issue 1, I believe, is in there. But then all these other guys from around the community are in there as well.
I love the fact that you get so much more to read than just the 3 that you're offering, and it's just more content because you don't know what genres people like, and I'm glad you're offering a wonderful variety of so many amazing talented comic creators that are out there.
I agree 100%.
Jeff, I hate to say it, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. You survived another show. I appreciate you always coming on here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this, Kurt.
For those that want to support you and, of course, the campaign and Traversing the Stars, where can they find you? How can they support you? And anything else you'd like to promote?
You can find me as the host of Traversing the Stars on YouTube and also Spotify and Apple Podcasts and a bunch of other stuff. You can find me on Facebook under my name. You can find MALEK Reigning Devil on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me under Traversing the Stars on Blue Sky. You can find me on TikTok under Traversing the Stars. And any other social media, sure, I'm on there somewhere, pushing my products. So I'm everywhere. So you feel free to find me. Vector Comics also under Instagram as well. So yeah, you can find me almost anywhere. The Kickstarter campaign is on Kickstarter under MALEK Reigning Devil number 3. It's active and will end March 5th. So please support. If you can support much, $3 gets you a PDF. So support a little bit, and I just appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, like I said, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. You can, of course, find this interview and 1,200 plus others on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast you can find by searching Two Geeks Talking. That's TWO Geeks Talking, wherever you get your podcasts. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.